someone's struggling or they get negative, they get negative. Now, I'm not saying don't talk to people like that, but you have to be careful to guard yourselves. And I'm gonna use it on the other sense. We have to be careful of guarding ourselves for people who don't believe the way we believe. Okay? Maybe that aren't Christians, and we get into that setting where we're at work or at friends or campouts, whatever. You have to be careful not to allow that to pull you in. And what I was telling my son is sometimes they're in the business, some people are negative, right? And some people just, they don't want you to succeed, so they'll pull you down to, and say, well, he can't do it either, or she can't do it either. And I feel like we have the same challenge as we go through life. We have that challenge of trying to make sure we surround ourselves with good people, right? We all struggle, though, okay? I'll hold my hand up first. We all struggle. We all need each other. We need that help, right? We need somebody that can lift us up, give us a hug. Or, on the other side of it, hey, get your act together. So either or, but you need that help. And that's what the family's for here, right? And it makes it easier. But as I read through here, I was like, and when it says, like a flood, right? It leaves no food. We've had more floods fires and floods, it seems like, lately, if you watch California, when them fires come through and then the rain come through, it just demolished everything. And, okay, what happens is that mostly washes away the topsoil, and it makes it hard to grow. Makes it hard to, grow anything, because that soil is not the best soil then. What's left, right? Mostly clays or sand or whatever that is in that part. I remember that, growing up, if we had a huge rain in a couple of our fields, if we'd already planted something, it washed it out. You'd have 4 or 5 acres underwater, and you'd have trails going to the creek, and it would wash everything right to there, and you had to replant that. Well, pretty much we had to turn it back over again, right? So in this, it just drives people to where there's no growth, right? It makes their mindset where they don't want to hear, they don't want to grow, they don't, it's that soil that just won't grow anything. So I thought it was an interesting verse that way. Verse 5 says, evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand all things. So I don't know if you've ever been around somebody that has done something wrong, or, somebody that might work for me, they do something wrong and they get caught. They're not mad that they did something wrong, right? What'd she say?
They're mad because they got caught.
Mad because they got caught. And most people, it's funny. I have several things planted in my brain over the years dealing with people, and it's, well, why? And I always want to ask, and I used to, but I don't anymore, because the answers I got were very, but why do you do that? Why would you do something wrong? And some people it doesn't resonate, right? If they're used to doing wicked things, it doesn't resonate any with them that they're doing that. They think it's normal. As sad as that sounds, right? They just think it's normal. And it takes a lot of communication to break that down with them. It starts in writing. You find a process. You find it in writing. And you get them to understand what you're talking about. And it's sort of like with your children, right? When they're 3 years old, you can tell them no, doesn't really resonate, right? Because they're kids. I look at kids, and it's just like being in here. When I hear a baby cry or something like that, I giggle now, right? But when they were mine, it was like, shh, 2-year-olds don't understand that, right? They're trying to communicate, right? And it's funny, but it's the wicked, and sometimes the wicked don't want to learn. They don't want to grow. They don't want to look at the other side. But as I look back and as in learning and growing and working, right? You got to take, as you get into those conversations, if I get into that group and I start hearing some things, you have to back away. You have to ground yourself, right? The end of that verse says, but those who seek the Lord understand all things. So remember, knowledge starts with reading the Bible, right? And knowledge comes before wisdom. So we have to learn and read the Bible in order to understand what God wants. When we have what God wants and we kind of click it in here, then we start gaining wisdom on how to live our lives. Godly wisdom. Now, Proverbs, and we're going to look at this a little bit later, Proverbs deals a lot with worldly things, situations, and we're going to compare Solomon to Christ at the end of the class, and the differences. There are some similarities, but there's some differences. But if you took out the good, right? There's a good and there's a bad, right? If you do this, you do good. If you do this, you do bad, right? So if you could learn to discern that and then apply it to your daily walk, right? That's how you grow. So the knowledge that we learn helps us grow and keep growing. There's not a days that go by that I don't learn something about someone or a situation. It's in people's lives. It's become more apparent that I can have bigger effect on people and their lives now than what I probably could have when I was 30, 35. Right? I don't know if it's the gray hair. I have no clue, right? But I tend to have people listening now to certain things. Like I can, one guy had a verse on his desk the other day. And I took it and I said, that's a pretty good verse. And he said, I'm reading this. And so I said, well, read the one before it, read the one after it. Here's the context of it. Think about it. And I put it in his mind, right? Don't know if it'll go somewhere. I didn't want to be too forceful at work because, that's one of the things you got to watch, right? Politics and religion. But if I have an opportunity, and I felt like him having that verse on his desk, give me an opportunity. So you plant that seed, but people want to know sometimes, others don't, right? So I've learned that I can have a bigger impact on people now, right? I understand a little bit more now too, right? I remember became baptized, became a Christian, and like everybody else, pumped up, and had some friends over, and we started talking about baptism. Okay? And baptism and being a 2-week-old Christian, probably not the best subject to get into, because I'm thinking it's this way, and that's how I explain it. Well, that's not how you want to explain that. So as you grow, you can explain things better. You can get to know the person, because it's all about relationship, as I've said before. If somebody believes you, they like you, they believe you, they start trusting you, then they'll start listening to you. Okay? That's an old sales technique. I get it, but the best salesman on earth was Jesus. Okay? I mean, if you look at it. And he gave that to Paul. And if you want to know, the second best was Paul. Maybe we'll study Corinthians at one time. Look at 1 Corinthians. But there's a guy that walked in to, Corinth, didn't like it, didn't trust them. He himself lived there, started working there, got to know the people, then started teaching. So, sidetrack on that, but that's how if we know the knowledge, we can actually teach it better. We don't have to rush in. Okay, verse 9. He who turns his ear from listening to the law, even his prayer is an abomination. Okay, this one might take just a minute. So, does God hear all prayers? Okay. Does he hear the prayer of a sinner? Okay. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 1. Chapter 1, verse 14, he said, I hate your new moon festivals and your appointed feast. They have become a burden to me. I am weary of bearing them. So when you spread out your hands in prayer, I will hide my eyes from you. Yes, even though you multiply prayers, I will not listen. So we had a study one time, and I couldn't find a study book, but we had a study of prayer. It's a good study because there's different things of prayer. It's not just I pray and that's over, there's how you pray, your mindset, your heart, what you say, what should you pray for, all those kinds of things. And it's kind of a dig deep kind of study. But moms can understand this. 2-year-olds going like this. Maybe you have 2 of them and they're going in each ear. Moms have this ability, which dads do not, to goes in and goes out. And they can focus on something else and they don't really hear what the person's saying. They're listening, they really don't hear it. And I'm not trying to make God into that, but God will, if you're a sinner, it's an abomination, right? He'll hear you, but he knows your heart, right? So, God's not gonna, if you're a sinner and you're praying, God's not gonna hear that. It's like Jesus said, let them who have an ear hear. They're listening, but do they really hear it?
Well, what if you're praying for God to open your heart and show you the way?
Well, what's your heart then? Right? That's a good question.
Is he going to hear you?
Yeah, I believe it.
Because you're a sinner?
I believe it. They'll ask and it shall be open. Knock, right? Ask, seek ye first. I believe that because I prayed that way, right? And then all of a sudden, I had people wanting to study with me, right? And so I believe the heart, right? I believe what's in the heart. And if it goes up, I think if you're knocking and you're seeking and you're around the right people, right? But you have to put forth that effort first. right?
1 Peter 3:12 says, "For the eyes of the Lord on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayers. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil."
What was that again, 1 Peter what?
1 Peter 3:12.
3:12. Okay. I'll read that. For the eyes of the Lord are towards the righteous, and his ears attend to their prayer. But the face of the Lord against those who do evil. So there's several verses like that. I think prayer, he'd give us a model prayer, right? If we turn to Matthew, and I'll take just a little time in this, you'll get, if everybody will permit. So Matthew 6, starting in verse 9, he said, "Pray then in this way." So if you read before that, chapter 6 is a very good book on communicating with God. Very good set of scriptures on how to relate to God. Jesus, if you read before that, don't be the hypocrite. Don't sit there and let people see you just at the wall praying, or if you do something, then do it in secret. Don't, pound your chest because you helped somebody. Okay? See?
Actually, talking Matthew 6:7, "And when you pray, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think they will be heard for their many words." Right there, he's saying, your heart is in it. They just think, "Hey God, hey God, hey God, hey God." The more they speak, they think they're going to be heard. Where here, he's saying, they're not going to be heard. Be careful how you do it.
Be careful how you pray, right? And then to start that, he said, "Pray then in this way. Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name." Okay? The very first thing he talks about, and Proverbs is full of this, is humility. Right? When you start that prayer, who is he saying to put first? God, right? Hallowed be your name. Not me. Don't lift myself up. Hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Okay? And we see this through Jesus. Jesus was in the garden. Did Jesus pray? Did he get told no? When Jesus was in the garden, he prayed. I say that. Did Jesus pray and get told no by the Father? Yeah. Take this cup away from me. But let your will be done, not mine. Right?
The evil person doesn't know that, though. They don't know when they pray. They don't know God. They're just praying. It's kind of like folly. When you talk to people that don't want to hear you talking about Jesus, that's their choice. So therefore, and what about Revelations? What about Revelations? When he talks about what's happening in the end. When he shuns you away. It's scary.
Matthew 7, right? Matthew 7 talks about that. But let his will be done. Sometimes, and I said this last week, I get, I have to watch myself. It's one of the thorns in my side. One of the things I have to fight a lot is I. Quit saying that word, right? But put me, it's us, it's we, it's the team, right? It's the family. Quit, and God is first, right? And I struggle with that, because I'm an athlete and I push, and I've always, driven, and you have to fight that, right? Put God first, Give us this day our daily bread. God says, I'll give you what you need to live. Right? I'm not going to promise you gold and silver. But you'll have enough to daily live. He did that with the Israelites coming out of Egypt. Give them food and water. Not any more than what they needed. Right? Keep your prayers simple, based on not wanting more and more and more. Okay? If you have more, then you have to adjust your heart and what you do, because you need to look back always, right? And give back. That's the way I feel. And forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors. Okay? That's another hard verse, right? We have to forgive to be forgiven. Right? There's several verses about that. You have to forgive. You have to let that go. And if you don't, and I understand this personally, it's hard, right? If you don't, how is your heart? If you don't forgive others, then it's hard you're bitter, right? And if you start going through life, just forgive, let it go, moving on. May not forget, so you don't want to put yourself back in that same position, but forgive, moving on. And he tells us right here, forgive. Do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Okay? Keep us away from our own temptations. James talks about this. We have our own temptations. Temptations lead to lust. Lust leads to sin. Right? The pride of life, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh. Right? Those three are how sin entered. Keep us away from our temptations. Okay? It's in the devil. We give the devil power. Right? We give him the power over us because we allow our temptations to go to and lead our lives. So watch that. Now that prayer tells us how to pray, right? So if we, so we know that our prayers are heard, will be answered, maybe not how we want. We may get that yes, no, maybe, right? Or in due time, but we don't have to, don't have to stop praying, right? We don't have to stop, but we need to pray the right way so God hears us and will, answer in his good time. Okay? Now I'm going to slip down to verse 20. It says, a faithful man will bound with blessings, but he who makes haste to be rich will not go unpunished. So, a faithful man will abound in blessings. And sometimes, I want to talk about this today, sometimes our blessings are right around us, okay? But we don't see them, right? We don't know that, we don't count them. We don't look at them. Give you an illustration. I was reading a book. It's called Enjoy the Ride. It's written by a man who, he's a speaker. He goes around, that's all he does. He's a motivational speaker. And he did this for quite a few years. And he got to the point, he said, I've missed the ride for too many years, right? To give you an illustration of this. So my mom and dad owned a houseboat on Dale Hollow. And every year, that was our family, Kathy and I's family vacation. We go down and spend a week with them on a houseboat, okay? And we would load up, we'd take our boat, and when you go on a houseboat trip, Okay, understand you're in the middle of a lake. You got to take all your food, all your water, everything that you want, because you want, if you can go to the marina, but a bag of potato chips costs you, a ton of money, right? So you want to take all this stuff. So when you load up, you load it up, right? So, and then the trip down, Friday night I get out of work. I mean, we'd load this thing up and be gone. We'd go down to the farm, and then we'd stay with mom and dad. We'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, load the kids in. Kids are, half asleep, don't know what's going on. And then we start going. Well, guess what? One of the kids might get sick, right? They have nothing in their stomach. I mean, you're trying to feed them food, and okay, we got to stop. Like, okay, we get going. And when you hear these words to any future parent, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. Okay, what's a normal response? Hold it. It's already past that point. When they say that, it's past that point. They can't hold it. They're done. You got to stop. So we get down, and I mean, we go. And it's go, 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 go. We pass so many things. We're just going. We get there. Now you got to unload all this stuff and into carts. You walk it down a half a mile to the boat. You put this stuff on the boat. You're sweating. It's 90 degrees. You're pushing, pushing, pushing. And the more I push, the more aggravated my wife gets. And you end up not having a good first day, right? In this book that this man has written, he said, he went down with his mom, and and he said, okay, we just went down on your way, we're gonna come back my way. So now when they come back, vice versa, all this, and interrupt that, if you want to hear a bad story, just ask Kathy, she'll tell you, the first day of the boat trip was, but it got a lot better after that. But coming back, his mom, we're going to stop anywhere the kids want to stop. Anywhere. We're going to enjoy this ride. And what he found out, and what you will find out as you get older, is that he had a great time driving and stopping probably 20 times during that whole thing. And he understood that he missed out on a lot of blessings in the travel. So he's a lot like I am. I want to be here at this time. I want to get gas in Gas City, Indiana. I want to be at this point in Louisville. I want to be at that time. That puts me at the marina at this time. Okay? I can be unloaded and shove off at this time, and I can tie up the boat at this time. Doesn't work that way, okay? And that's what he found out, and he said he enjoyed the blessings coming back so much more than the trip going down. So I throw that out there with the blessings, Sometimes stop and just look at the blessings. I get a kick out of now. I got a video the other day of Taylor, who's 7. And they're in Branson, Missouri, and Jordan sends us a video of her climbing a rock wall. And I stopped my day. I watched that, and I don't know, it's probably 50, 60 feet up there. She's 7, she's strapped in, and I mean, she motors up that thing. And I went, wow, that's pretty, and that's a blessing to me now, right? So I will notice that. I'm not taken away from my work. I used to think I was cheating my boss if I did something like that, right? I don't take lunches, right? My wife packs my lunch every day. I'm blessed, right? So Kathy, God bless you, because boom, and I eat, and I go like this, and that's about my lunch, right? That's about 2 minutes. So I've come to think, okay, now I get a video like that, I'm going to stop. I'm going to look at it, and I'm blessed. Jacob and Allie walked in the other day. I was just getting done with a meeting and had a sales meeting, rah, rah, woo, go, go, go. And here comes my daughter, 9 weeks, and, my son-in-law stopped everything. Took 5 minutes, held my granddaughter, made her cry. But that's a blessing to me, So I'm going to do those things now. Maybe it's the gray hair. I don't know. But, I have time for that. I'm not, jeopardizing my job. That's just who I am, though. I give it 100%. But sometimes you got to stop and proverbial smell the roses, right?
Gaining wisdom.
Yeah. Too many two befores up there, though. But it took a while. But, I say that everywhere you go, there's blessings. Today, there'll be something that's a blessing. We just have to recognize it. We have to slow down, look around. How many times have you encountered this where you have passed maybe the same spot 500-600 times? And all of a sudden, oh, how long has that been there? Or that person. Well, that's always been there, right? That's always been there. So stop, just look at the blessings that you have and, enjoy life a little bit more, and your blessings a little bit more. So, okay. I'm going to do a little bit I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 12. I'm going to do a little comparison between Christ and Solomon. Verse 42. It says, this is Jesus talking. It says, the queen of the south will be up with this generation at the judgment and condemn it, because she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, something greater than Solomon is here. So Solomon, when he was young, he prayed, God gave him the wisdom. And it states that he's going to be, there'll not be one after him that wise, right? Man, right? If we compare Solomon, who gave Solomon's wisdom? God, right? Christ, definitely, right? He's part of the Godhead. So his wisdom came from God. So they're similar there, okay? Both are known through all the nations, right? The queen of the south is, who is and kings, she's called Queen of Sheba, okay? So she had heard of his wisdom. He was known for the wisdom that he portrayed, and she wanted to find out. That's a whole story in 1 Kings. So they're both known. They both received it from God. As I alluded to earlier, the Proverbs, I feel, are words of life. Our life here on earth, physical life, situations that we will get into, right? Christ also had those words, but he also spoke of the spiritual life. And a lot of what Christ does is spiritual, getting you from here to heaven, getting you to the Father. I am the bread of life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Okay? So there's a difference between those words and Christ's words. Really, Solomon stressed a practical living. Jesus was more, Solomon says, hey, son, obey your father. Kids, obey your parents. Practical living. Don't get greedy. Don't mess with the weights. imbalances. Don't cheat people, right? Jesus said, if you turn away from your mom and dad and everything and walk with me, right? Basically, you have a decision to make to follow me. And even though your parents may not do it, you should do it. Follow me, inherit heaven. So it's Jesus is a little bit more to the point, radical about getting to heaven, right? Nice. So if we go to 1 Kings, right here, 1 Kings chapter 11. Now, Solomon has been given all the wisdom, the most wisdom in the entire world at this time, and he has to follow God. That's all he has to do. I don't want to read all this because we don't have time, but now, verse 1, now King Solomon loved many foreign women, along with daughter of Pharaoh, the Moabite, the Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and the Hittite women. And for the nations concerning which the Lord had said to the sons of Israel, you shall not associate with them, nor shall they associate with you, for they will surely turn your heart away from their God, after their gods. Solomon held fast to these loves. And it goes on and it talks about how he erected God's statues, gold, to each one of these so-called gods. And his heart turned away from God. Now God said, I'm not going to split the kingdom up. But I'm not going to, because of your father David had such a good heart, paraphrasing, a heart after which I love, God speaking. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm going to keep my promise to him. Tells you a little bit about God. When he promises something, he's going to keep his promise. But your sons, I'm going to dismantle it. Okay? Jesus, no sin. One of my favorite verses in the Bible, Hebrews chapter 4. Come on. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in all things as we are, yet without sin. So Jesus paid the price for us. Jesus came and walked this earth. He felt all the emotions that we feel. And as you study, Jesus had a humor. He was hungry. He loved. He got mad. He had all these emotions that we have. He was a little bit, he picked on the Pharisees pretty hard. He was on them. So, but he didn't sin, right? So he is that perfect sacrifice for us. He is our perfect brother in Christ. He understands who we are, and he is our mediator. So when he talks to God on our behalf, we're getting a, thank goodness we have that. Thank goodness I have that. Because I have somebody in my corner that will help. I made an illustration one time to some teenagers. Christ, if we add up everything and we had two, I know, gray hair, but if I had two librarian card files, right? I don't have that anymore, but if you pulled out the one side of everything that you did good, you might pull it out about this far, right? Now you go to the one where you have accountability in the things that you've messed up on in your life, and you pull it out and it's 200 feet long, right? And on the day of judgment, Christ stands up there and says, He's mine. She's mine. Come on in. That's what it's about. That's what everything that we talk about goes to. And, you know, Christ, all the Proverbs lead to that in our daily living and help us get to Christ. But Christ takes us so much further. And the wisdom of Christ is beyond what Solomon preached. I encourage everybody to sit there and read about Jesus and really study how he lived and who he really is. He's our Savior, wrote in red, but I appreciate everybody's attendance and attending us. Thank you for letting me speak.